Hi scholars! Today we're going to do a little proportion review, practice writing and solving proportions. So go ahead now, use what you have practiced the past couple of days and solve this proportion and solve for x. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we always cross multiply. So we're going to do x times 1/2 and we get 1/2 x, and that's going to be equal to 2 times 2 2/5. So I don't know what that is, so I'm going to come over to the side. 2 times 2 2/5. I need to change this to an improper fraction. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12 over 5. Multiply straight across, I get 24 over 5. I can divide that out. 5 goes into 24 4 whole times. The remainder is 4, denominator stays the same. So again, in my red, 2 times 2 2/5 is 4 4/5. Next, I need to divide both sides by 1/2, whatever is with your variable x. 1/2 divided by 1/2 cancels out and is just 1x equals, again, I need to come to the side. I'm going to come over here. So 4 4/5 divided by 1/2. Convert. We get 24 over 5 divided by 1/2. Keep, change, flip, multiply. We get 48 over 5. When I divide this out, 5 goes into 48 9 whole times. The remainder is 3 and denominator is 5. So when I solve this proportion, x is 9 3/5. Alright, read this first word problem and first just determine what two things are you comparing. What is the relationship in this proportion? Go ahead and write it out in words. Alright, so from the question, we're looking for how many push-ups you could expect him to do after 2.5 minutes. So it looks like I'm comparing how many push-ups he can do in a certain number of minutes. Go ahead now and actually fill in your numbers and solve. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and fill my numbers. I am given, and I know that Jamal can do 12 push-ups in half a minute. So 12 push-ups, that goes on the top. If it's a half a minute, I can write a half because my time is already minutes. Now, what I don't know is how many push-ups. I want to know how many push-ups he can do after 2.5 minutes. I'm going to cross multiply to solve. 1/2 times x, and that's going to equal 12 times 2.5. Convert to an improper fraction. Multiply straight across. So after I cross multiply 12 times 2.5, I get 30. Next, I'm going to divide both sides by 1/2, the number with my variable. Need to come over to the side again. 30 over 1 divided by 1/2. Keep, change, flip. Multiply across, and I get 60 over 1, which is just 60. And if I'm looking back, what was that 60? What does it represent? It's 60 push-ups. So Jamal can do 60 push-ups in a matter of 2.5 minutes. If you have any questions on this, raise your hand before moving on. Read number 2. solve, and then determine which is the best answer. So my answer choices are talking about better values and better buys. And so from before we learned how to do better buys is to compare our unit rate. So for Hank soap, I know I can get, I'm going to compare the cost to the gallons. So $16, we get 0.5 gallons. Now I know for Glee laundry soap, again, I'm comparing how much is spent, so $25.60, and here I get 0.7 gallons. So I need to be able to compare, find the unit rate, which means I'm dividing. So I'm going to do 16 divided by 0.5. Remember, anytime I have a decimal on the outside, I need to move it over once. So I put the decimal at the end of the number, move it over, and add my 0. Bring my decimal up. So 5 goes into 16 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15, subtract 1. Bring down my 0, 5 goes into 10. 2 times. So I get 32. And again, this is going to represent $32 for 1 gallon. Now I need to go ahead and divide $25.60 divided by 0.7. Again, I need to move my decimal on the outside to the right, which means I move this decimal also to the right. 7 goes into 25 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. Subtract, I get 4. Bring down my 6. 7 goes into 46 now. 6 times. 6 times 7 is 42. Subtract, I get 4. Bring down my 0. 7 goes into 40. 5 times. So when I look at this, I see that for $36, about $36.50 is the cost for 1 gallon. So now when I look at these, I see $32 for Hank soap for 1 gallon, $36.50 for Glee soap. Automatically, I know that for C, they don't cost the same. For the better buy, the better value is going to mean it's cheaper for the unit rate, cheaper for every gallon. So it's going to be A, Hank soap, since that's less money per gallon. As always, raise your hand if you have a question before moving on. Solve number 3 on your own. Pay careful attention to the units in this problem. All right, so when I look at the question, I see that it's asking me how long it will take the student to run 1 mile in minutes. So automatically, I see that I'm comparing the miles to the minutes. So I'm going to write that relationship in words. I'm comparing how far he's running and how long. Next, I'm going to go ahead and pick out what I know. I know he can run 5/6 of a mile in 1/6 of an hour. Now I cannot put 1/6 in the denominator because the 1/6 is 1/6 of an hour, and here we are looking for minutes. So we have to convert this 1/6 of an hour to minutes. And anytime we have a fraction, we have a fraction of a total. This 1/6 is 1/6 of an hour, and an hour has 60 minutes. So again, I can take my fraction, the piece of an hour, 1/6, and multiply it by the total number of minutes in 1 hour. So I get 60 over 6, which equals 10. So 1/6 of an hour is the same thing as 10 minutes. So real quick, also, if you take a look at the clock, my question is asking me for 1/6 of an hour. So I could break my clock up into sixths. So right now, if I look at it, I have my clock is broken up into sixths. 1/6 of that, when we look at that, is 10 minutes. From this 12 to this 2, that is a 10-minute block. So 1/6 of an hour is 10 minutes. Next, I'm looking for, I want to know how long it's going to take for 1 mile. So my x goes on the bottom because we're looking for minutes. I'm going to cross multiply. 5/6 times x equals 10 times 1, which is just 10. Divide both sides by 5/6. So I'm going to come over to the side, 10. Keep, change, flip. Multiply straight across, we get 60 over 5, which gives me 12. So x equals 12, but I'm again always going to go back. What is 12? And I was looking for the minutes. So it will take take the student 12 minutes to run 1 mile. Again, this is that type of problem we need to be very careful for the units we're given and the units the question is asking us in. Raise your hand if you have a question. And the last problem of the day, solve now. This problem is very similar to the one we just did in that we have 2 different units. So if I look at my actual question, the question is asking how many residences will she have delivered mail to by the end of a 6-hour shift. So we are looking for the relationship between the residences, which are just like homes, compared to the hours worked. Again, the question is asking me within an hour time frame. So let's fill in our numbers. So right now, actually, it's going to be easier. I know that I want to find how many residences, how many homes she went to in 6 hours. Now I can use any pair, any relationship of numbers from the chart. I'm going to go ahead and use the smaller numbers because normally they're easier to work with. So I see that she can, on her route, go to 100 homes in 150 minutes. So I don't want to put the 150 in my proportion because that's minutes. And remember, we are comparing with hours. So I need to figure out how am I going to turn minutes into hours. Okay? So if I think about it, I know 60 minutes is 1 hour. Another 60 is 120. So 120 minutes is 2 hours. I have 150. So 120 plus 30 gives me 150. So this is 1 hour, 2 hour, and then half an hour. So 150 minutes is the equivalent to 2.5 hours. Okay, now we're just going to cross multiply. So 2.5 times x is going to be equal to 100 times 6, 600. Divide both sides by 2.5. I need to, I can divide this out, so 600 over 1 divided by 5 over 2, and I convert to an improper fraction. So keep, change, flip, 600 times 2 is 1200 over 5. And 1200 divided by 5 is 240. So she can go to 240 homes or residences in 6 hours.